the Spiteful Priest and the Secret Mage sometimes can come out favorably or even against his opponent's Secret Mage and Priest. But the Cthulhu Druid is so weird to me because I didn't even know that this was really a thing. Now, if we just take the idea and instead of Cthulhu Druid, let's just say it's Spiteful Summoner Druid that plays just a lot of curve stuff and pressures. How does that fare? If we just kind of look away from the actual Cthulhu.
Well, even if it just played just regular minions, it's all about sort of those power turns, those power cards with Prince Kel'Seth and with Spiteful Summoner. Sometimes it can just put out too much big stuff for really any deck to be able to deal with. But that's also sort of one of its weaknesses against faster decks is it does have so much greed in it that if you don't draw early stuff, then you'll die to aggro very quickly, especially since you just don't have removal.
That is true.
The Druid doesn't have access to, say, Dustbreaker like Spiteful Priest does to help you get through early games against aggressive boards and sort of have the backup plan if you don't curve out well. So it is a much riskier deck, but I also think it's a deck with sort of a bigger reward at the top end because you sort of have that inevitability of Cthulhu. But Cthulhu is kind of weird because the way, if you're playing... Well, in the way that it works against sort of the late game decks now, because it's not like a control deck of old where I'll use Freeze Mage as an example where they wouldn't even have a board at the end of the game, so you could use Cthulhu as sort of that finisher to pop a block and present the threat to kill the next turn. Like Control Warlock, I guess you're banning it anyway, but they usually have some semblance of a board as well, and if you're playing against like Spiteful Priest, they have Grand Archivist and Mind Control to be able to sort of counter what you're trying to do. So it's just really bizarre.
They always have Noishire Cleric on turn 1 as well. I think every single game I've seen on stream so far, Spiteful Summoner Priest has started out with Cleric on 1. Just want to point that out. Although actually this is okasinnsuke playing the Spiteful Priest. I apologize. I haven't had a chance to analyze too much.
No, he's playing the Dragon Combo Priest.
Okay, that's right. He has a Dragon Combo Priest with Bookworm in it. That's pretty cool. Crazed Alchemist as well for some of the tech. We've been seeing some players post lists on social media, including that.
Yeah, there's that sort of, there's like one empty slot for dragons where you need one additional dragon besides the core of Dustbreaker, Draconet Operative that you need to place in there. For a while, people were going with Bone Drake. We see some players go with Alex Straza, and some players go with Primordial Drake. And then we see, in this instance, where he goes with Bookworm as that sort of last dragon that you need to have enough dragons to realistically be able to have activators for Nether Spy Historian and Draconet Operative.
Well, Ender's best tempo play is the Kieran Torch Mage and the Ice Block. That Tar Creeper will prove to be very annoying, though. Nice thing about this Ice Block, though, is that it can still mess up okasinnsuke's play if he doesn't play very cautious, or if he does play very cautiously, because a lot of times you're thinking about Counterspell and Explosive Runes in this position.
Yeah, and that is the secret package that Ender runs is double Counterspell, double Explosive Runes, and an Ice Block, which is pretty standard. Sometimes we see the double of Counterspell, Explosive Runes, and Potion of Polymorph as sort of the that last secret to round off. It is kind of widely accepted, though, that you kind of need 5 secrets. For a while, players were running 4, but if you run like 4 sort of secret activators with Kieran Tor Mage and Cabal Lackey, the 5th secret really comes in clutch sometimes.
Well, Insuke is going to find out that it's neither Counterspell or Explosive Runes, so knows that it's going to be the Ice Block. Ender can tempo out this Medivh's Valet and try to win back the board slowly. Looks like he's playing the long game here, just trying to outvalue instead of trying to rush onto the board with everything he can.
Yeah, well, it's kind of tough. If you leave almost any big minion on board, your opponent can kill you. The Dragon Combo Priest can kill you, especially those high health targets. And that's the tough part, as we saw even in the last series, where if you leave one big minion up, where there was a turn where Waning Moon decided to play Alaneth and try and draw cards instead of clearing off the big Primordial Drake that was on the other side of the board. And he got punished because that guy got real big and eventually killed him. So it's a fine balance that you have to ride with Secret Mage of removing the board and then when you need to turn the corner and go face.
Yep. Okasinnsuke goes for the Necessary Historian, recognizes he needs the Draconid Operative to get the battle cry value off the Dragon Hold. Ender's going to also get his own form of card ramp going with Arcane Intellect. And it seems like things are quiet all in the Western Front here. But who ends up becoming ahead the longer the game goes, in your opinion, TJ?
I think the Priest. If they can keep control of the board, they have so many tools at their disposal. They can start healing periodically to stifle the amount of burn that the Mage has. And then at any point, if they draw their combo, Mage does not have the removal spells unless they get it from Primordial Glyph. They have Fireball, but you're not going to want to throw like a Fireball and a Frostbolt or double Fireball at a big minion.
Oh.
Well then.
Oh. Wait. Well, this changes a lot. I mean, all those options are great. Aluneth, get you the card draw. Fireland's Portal is fantastic tempo, and you know that Mage can't really answer a wide board if you remove and you develop. Pyroblast is game-ending damage. I think Fireland's Portal makes the most sense given what we just talked about of Mage's weaknesses, but man, Aluneth was tempting for just a half second.
I don't know, yeah, because you can do a lot with more cards. Especially with a second Radiant Elemental in hand. If you start, and Shadow Visions, you could probably just kill your opponent next turn as long as one minion sticks, but I think that's what he's sort of thinking about is, well, if my opponent clears my board, then what is Aluneth really doing? Because I still have to play minions in order to make use of my spells.
Oh man, what a draw here. Sorry to cut you off, TJ. The second Draconid Operative for Insuke is massive for him to be able to get that dragon synergy going. Does hesitate, doesn't want to automatically snap call it, just in case there's an alternative play, but it looks pretty good for the dragon.
Huh. I guess Explosive Runes?
Yeah, it's the most tempo generated. Spellbreaker is not exactly great tempo, it's just good value if you can shut off a Death Rattle or effect. Kabalaki, of course, is very weak.
Kabalaki he could play this turn, though, which might be enticing in some regard, but is a 2-1 really like furthering your game plan? His hands is not too expensive right now, especially if Radiant Elemental Explosive Runes can come out for even cheaper. So, all right, here we go.
Deck of Wonders, yes! That's the kind of stuff I want to see. Obviously not right now, but given that Ender's taking it really slow and doesn't seem like he's piled a win condition just yet. Also, by the way, kind of funny that he's playing Secret Mage and he got Glacial Mysteries.
Glacial Mysteries, yeah.
Yeah, very humorous indeed.
And he still has one of each of his secrets left in his deck, I believe.
Does he? Yeah, Counterspell and
Counterspell and Explosive Runes. So, in the end, it's 7 mana, play 2 secrets from your deck, which is
8. Well, if
7 if the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I think you probably just kill the Sorcerer's Apprentice. I don't know. There's a couple different lines. You could go Dustbreaker, Explosive Runes, but then he cuts off the activation for Draconid Operative. Then if he plays Draconid Operative, he cuts off the activation for Dustbreaker. You can also just leave it up, but that's pretty dangerous, especially with Cabal's Tome just being played. He knows there's 3 additional spells that he has to worry about.
Yeah, I think I like the Operative because Mage could have a lot of spells to help you get rid of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. And I think I like that better than the Dustbreaker because Dustbreaker doesn't really clear much, nor is it really strong on the board. You're coming up on a turn where your opponent can Fireland's Portal. Granted that I think he would have Fireland's Portal last turn if he had it. Hard to say.
Yeah.
I can see it going either way, but this is more mana efficient guaranteed.
Yeah. If only you could Cabal-Laggy Glacial Mysteries.
But he gets the battle cry off. That's what's important, so he can squeeze in this counterspell. And Portal.
Yeah, and he knows that the health is kind of a resource that he can throw away a bit because. And I'm gonna have so much trouble
that's a
saying his name.
really bad target for Ender if there's a Potion of Madness, you know.
Wow. What's the maximum amount of damage he can do? We'd have to find Potion of Madness with the first one, and then
Well, this
Inner
is
Fire. So it.
one of them's gonna get counterspelled.
Oh yeah.
He actually shouldn't Firelance Portal this. He can test for counterspell first. He also tested for explosive rune, so he knows it's counterspell, guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's not a primordial glyph or a Cabalstone target, if he's hand tracking, that is.
And that's a pretty easy one to hand track because the counterspell came from the very far left.
Yes.
So he just does go ahead and throw away the first Shadow Visions. Not too big of a deal, but may stop the combo from coming out as fast.
Yeah, and these are some of the card draw issues we're talking about here. Insuke has been running into hand economy problems, and Firelance Portal's still been stuck in the hand for 2 turns now.
There was a while players were putting in Novice Engineers in Combo Priest.
Yeah,
just to try and get that additional card draw.
You're a combo deck, and so you just want card draw, right?
Yeah,
isn't that like the fundamental crux that keeps combo decks together?
Yeah, the thing about it is, yes, it helps sometimes, and it especially helps versus control, but...
Oh, man.
You know the term I love the most, Dan? Deck thinning. Oh. It sends shivers down my spine.
It does do that. And it is kind of relevant in this position.
Yeah.
Gets him 2 cards closer to Alaneth.
And also 2 cards closer to Fatigue once he finds Alaneth.
Yeah. Firelance Portal finally being able to get some really big value. And this is pretty much an all-in for okasinnsuke. So if Ender can finish off this board, that is it for the Dragon Priest. That is a big if.
And Deck of Wonders is kind of a necessity at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I am ready.
There's a good chance we may not see any of them come out of the deck because he's pretty close to being dead. He might have to actually rely on Deck of Wonders to get him out of the situation and maybe Frostbolt to deny some damage here. Yeah, because if Inner Fire was picked up, his block would be popped. Oh no, is the counterspell still active or is?
Yeah, no, the explosive rune.
Oh, the explosive rune still active. That's right, because he played Divine Spirits to end the turn last turn. So, yeah, Inner Fire because he could heal up the Draconid Operative, and then Inner Fire would allow him to push through. So,
no development of the Kieran Tor Mage. Worst draw in Insuke's deck, but he still has the board. Ender has 2
guide
turns.
Me.
Yeah.
Aw. Still has 1 more with the Ice Block, but...
I'm struggling to find the outs here. It's got to be Deck of Wonders at this point, right?
Yeah, it does. And even then, it has to be chained Deck of Wonders into other stuff.
We have many secrets.
But he's going to go load up and hope.
Bookworm, just going to die, but no harm, no foul here. I guess you just trade 1 card for 1 card. Give you ways to spend mana. That is going to be an Ice Block pop. So if Insuke desires, I think he's just trying to think about whether or not it's worth popping now or perhaps taking a trade and giving his opponent an extra turn.
Yeah, I think you definitely pop there because you think, well, I want to trade to play around anything crazy from Deck of Wonders, but actually by popping the block, that's the most, I think that's the best way to do it. Pyroblast, not going to be enough. And okasinnsuke takes game number 1 in the series.
Secret Mage is losing a lot.
It has been.
It's been struggling in so many series, and a lot of the matches that Secret Mage has been able to win is either one that's supposed to be good on paper, like Warlock,
yeah,
or the mirrors.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think players maybe took too much weight from Copa America. They watched Copa America, which was the last tour stop that happened last week, and they saw so much control mage and control decks in general. And so they figured, oh, that's sort of going to be the same meta coming into this event. So we're going to bring lineups that kind of counter that. And Secret Mage is one of the decks that, while it does do great against those control decks especially control mage, it doesn't do well if the field brings aggro, especially if you see a lot of aggressive paladins.
Right.
And even combo priests a lot of times can, since they have Dustbreakers, since they have early minions and early spells, they can do a lot of fancy things to stifle the pressure. It's a tough world out there when you misread the meta and bring Secret Mage in that full force.
Yeah, there's 3 levels to it. So there's one, the people that play what has been already established. You just kind of copy what's successful. You know, kind of like what a lot of people did to Pavel a year ago.
Yeah.
Where you just like, you played 2 Reno decks, 2 aggro decks,
Yep.
and then that just seemed to be a winning formula. People were just like, okay, I'm just going to bring that next tournament and win, and a lot of people did. Then there's a level that says, well, I'm just trying to beat that. That's kind of what's happening right now. People are like, well, I'm just going to play an aggro line to kill that to try to see if we can pressure those slow decks and punish them for being greedy. Then you have the level above that, thinking people will bring aggro and try to kill aggro or try to bring control and try to kill control. And then you have the level above that, the secret level that people don't talk about, the top of the pipe, world 8-4, whatever you want to call it.
Where you bring Cthulhu Druid.
You read my mind. You don't bring Warlock, and you bring Cthulhu Druid.
I don't even know if that works.
You can't get targeted with Warlock if you don't bring Warlock.
That's right. And that's exactly what Ender was thinking. And it's always, there's 2 types of players when you're in this environment. The players that put their mic booms down and the players that keep their mic booms up when they go on stage. It's actually...
Okay. Is it supposed to tell us something about the personality?
I think it says a little bit about comfort. Because when you put the mic boom down, you're kind of in the zone.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're just like, oh, that's a natural thing to do. I put on my headset, I put my mic boom down. That's what you do at home. That's what you do when you're in your natural environment of Hearthstone play. And when you keep the mic boom up, you're like, wow, this is weird. I have a headset on with a mic, but I'm not putting it down in front of my face. I feel so uncomfortable right now.
Or we could be like every English literature class ever and be reading far too much into it.
That's right.
I'm always thinking, is the author really trying to do that?
Yeah, but
Or are we just trying to derive meaning out of
Blizzard came to me and they're
meaningless
like, TJ, we're going to need a 1,000-word essay analyzing player behavior after the Sydney tour stop. So I'm just kind of...
You're just leaving me hanging, man. Suspense, kind of what?
bull pooping my way through it, Dan.
Gotcha.
I was about to say that, but I was like, I have no other way to say that phrase.
Well, now is time for the main event. We have Cthulhu Druid, 74 inches of reach, up against Secret Mage with even bigger reach. Now they can discover Pyroblast number 2. That is a lot of damage. Glacial Mysteries is kind of weak. And Mirror Entity actually has some relevance in the mid-stage of the game. Although it doesn't work the way you want to against Spiteful Summoner. It copies the 4/4, not the 10-cost minion.
If we want to go full E athleticism,
I always want to go full E athleticism.
the Secret Mage is all about speed, and the Cthulhu Druid is all about pure power.
Yeah. Really good for the ground and pound.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And now that he has Spiteful Summoner picked up, the coin Spiteful Summoner is going to be a devastating blow, considering that he has the... actually, he has Mire Keeper as well, so he doesn't even need the coin to ramp into that.
Yeah, the deck actually does run a decent amount of ramp because it runs the sprites, Greedy Sprite.
Yes.
And Mire Keeper. So that's sort of the replacements for Wild Growth and Jade Blossom / Nourish. Because you don't want to play any spells because, of course, you're a Spiteful Summoner. You want that to almost guaranteed pull out that 10 mana ultimate infestation. But you do also, since you're a druid, want to find some type of ramp to get into those power turns quicker. So,
well, speaking of power turns, okasinnsuke has the Alaneth, but Ender also has that Gluttonous Ooze tacked into his lineup, which is a really good spot here because I think most people just don't really expect weapon removal very often, despite the fact that the expansions draw the entire point of it was weapons. So you would think weapon removal would be really good, TJ, but it's just people don't play it very often.
And there's actually a ton of weapons in the meta too.
Yeah.
So you look at the normal lineup, it's Warlock, Secret Mage, and some form of Paladin.
Yeah.
And all three of those have some type of big weapons. Paladin has a ton. Even the control Paladins run Uther or Tyrion or both. Well, Uther, sometimes Tyrion, and sometimes both. And then, of course, Warlock has their legendary weapon and Mage has their legendary weapon. So Actually surprised that there isn't more of it.
The really nice thing too about Ender keeping the coin if he uses the Mire Keeper as ramp is that he can use it to trigger counterspell now. So in the event that he needs to play Ultimate Infestation, which you know, there's a lot of times that becomes the case. He can trigger it first, free up hand space, and then play UI. That's kind of the big thing about Spiteful Summoner List. Even though you have big reward for payoff from denying big spells or counterspell, if they have the coin and they play judiciously with their resources, not gonna matter.
Yeah, and Ender making some, I like to call them unorthodox trades there, but he's just trying to sort of hold on to as much of his board as possible. He could have traded both into the Medivh's Valet, like his hero power plus the Enchanted Raven, but he wants to sort of force the mana out of okasinnsuke in order to make his turns like less impactful, and he also holds on to the coin, which means he's going to be able to get more power turns later on. It doesn't really matter in this case for Spiteful Summoner because he's going to be able to play next turn since Mire Keeper was almost guaranteed to come down, but
yeah, if you force 2 mana out of your opponent, he was limited to a 2 mana play, which means his best play was Medivh's Valet or Arcanologist. So Ender really trying to corner his opponent and then get the value trade with his 1/2. But because Mana Worm is out here, that still introduces kind of a little bit of a board here for Ender. So he won't get the optimal board state for a Spiteful Summoner. But still, this is going to be a lot of power. And here's the funny, cheesy thing. Last time I checked, Cthulhu is still a 10-cost minion.
it is.
And with Ultimate Infestation, it's guaranteed a 10-mana minion.
And so if you summon a Cthulhu and it dies, you can bring it back with Doomcaller
Immediately.
immediately.
And you get 2 Cthulhus in your deck. And it also keeps the buff, I believe. So if you play Spiteful Summoner, does the Cthulhu come out with the extra stats that you buffed it with?
I don't think so. I think it comes out as a 6/6.
You sure?
No.
It says wherever
No.
it is, TJ. Wherever it is.
In the void of Spiteful Summonerness.
Yeah. Look, the Spiteful Summoner is doing some really evil stuff in the yard.
I think that was probably my favorite meme in Hearthstone's history was wherever it is.
Yeah.
People that didn't play during the Whispers of the Old Gods
Yeah,
meta
that
missed
was
out
great.
on one of the greatest, one of the meme goats, the greatest of all time.
Yeah. Turn 6 is usually the Islandeth turn, but Insuke has better tempo options with the Cabal Crystal Runner pickup.
Yeah.
And he can just go wide and try to ignore this Ultra Store.
Cabal Crystal Runner, of course, reads cost 2 secrets, or cost 2 less for each secret that's been played this game, wherever it is.
Yeah, I like it.
Fireball deals 6 damage to an enemy, or 6 damage wherever it is.
Keep going, TJ. Eventually you'll get a sharp exhale through my nose.
That one actually does read give +3/+3 wherever it is.
All right, you got it.
That was more than a sharp exhale. I succeeded.
Yeah. All right, well, Alneth makes us a heck of a lot interesting for one turn, but then the Gluttonous Ooze comes down.
I must have more.
And that is going to be a crushing swing here for Ender. Insuke knew that this was a possibility too, open decklist, so he's well aware of it. Granted, Ender also has a handful of tech cards himself that are a little bit awkward. Spellbreaker, Mind Control Tech, nothing really special at the moment.
Even with the Cthulhu package, it's still hard to find minions, enough minions to fit into the deck. So you have the room to run all these tech cards with Spellbreaker, Mind Control Tech, the Ramp minions, Gluttonous Ooze.
Well, it's because he plays Prince Keliseth, which actually buffs the Cthulhu to a 7/7.
Even further. That's right, it's a
Wherever it
base
is.
7/7.
That's why did they add that to Prince Keliseth? They should just give all your minions plus in your deck +1/+1.
Wherever they are.
Yeah. But you know, that actually does work. So we can't play Beckoner of Evil, for example.
Yeah. He does have enough though with the Twilight's Elder, Cthulhu's Chosen, Dark Arakoa.
You know what would be like the ultimate bamboozle is if you don't even put Cthulhu in your deck. You just summon it off a Spiteful Summoner every time.
Yeah. It's like what, 1 in 11? I don't know.
game is very much over. There's no Hail Mary for Insuke. Even if he gets Cabal's Tome off of like Primordial Glyph, it's just going to be way too slow tempo-wise. He already lost his best asset, which was his legendary weapon. Firelands Portal.
Could get Leroy.
Yeah, could get some pretty valuable minions, actually.
And then burn into burn, I don't know.
That's a high-value minion.
It is, but probably just not even going to be enough. Actually, most likely just not even going to be
Oof.
enough. And Spiteful Summoner.
I want to see the Cthulhu. This needs to be for science. Do it. Summon the Cthulhu.
Oh,
Oh, not that
Close.
old god. Okay, but one thing for absolute certain is that if Cthulhu was summoned as a 6/6, he would get the buff from the 4/2 on 4.
okay.
Yeah. So at least he sequenced it correctly if it was wrong. But I imagine that Ender's played enough games that he would know.
Yeah.
I'll ask him.
I don't think anyone would submit a deck having 0 games played with it. Except for Pavel at Seed Story Cup last year.
Or Raynad at every tournament he enters, because he lets everybody know.
Oh.
How do you know if Raynad practiced for a tournament? You don't have to. He'll tell you.
He'll tell you.
Love you, Ray. There you go. Prince Kalos has buffed the Cthulhu. It's now 13-13.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. It's funny.
And a coin left for good measure to proc that counterspell so he can ultimate Infestation if need be. But Ender takes game number 2. Cthulhu Druid is now undefeated here at the Sydney Tour Stop.
Yeah, and Secret Mage struggling again.
It is, yeah.
Wow, that's how you know that maybe Secret Mage might have been an overreaction to the meta when even Cthulhu Druid, which didn't need Cthulhu. I mean, honestly, it was a Spiteful Summoner Druid with Cthulhu cards.
Yeah. Like I said, it's hard to find enough good minions to put it in your deck, so you might as well find some synergies. Spiteful Priest finds the dragons because the class is just naturally leans towards that type of strategy, but Druid's got to get a little creative.
Yeah, and I gotta say one thing here, that I can actually appreciate this meta, even though some people would have to argue that there's some decks that might be really strong. You know, Warlock and Priest and Paladin might be a little bit overtuned still, at least in terms of the competitive metagame. There's a lot of viable options, just card tech-wise, of how you actually outfit your deck. Maybe there's 20, 25 obvious cards, but even the packages that people vary in between are so interesting. Whether or not you want to play a more aggressive package, like in Secret Mage, people are putting Frost over Doomsayers, and then you have like these other tech cards in Murloc Paladin, and now you have like Spiteful Druid that's playing just Cthulhu. That's like 8 to 10 cards completely different.
Yeah, and take this with a grain of salt because we are in the Asia-Pacific region with primarily Asia-Pacific players, but all 9 classes are represented.
Right. We have Quest Warrior, Jade Elemental Shaman with Grumble combos. And
Rummaging Kobold to bring back your Jade Claws. It's
Spell Hunters, which got banned, because that's something we didn't talk about. We were anticipating Warlock and Paladin to be banned. It was not the case. Spell Hunter's been banned twice on stream, TJ.
Yeah.
Is it that good of a deck?
It's a great aggro. It beats aggro pretty consistently, actually, just because they have so many tools to stifle early pressure and such weird swing turns.
What kind of deck would you classify as Spell Hunter in the traditional archetypes? Is it a mid-range deck? Is it a control deck? Did you just say Hunter has a viable control deck?
It does, Dan. It does. There are some weird things if you play Rock Dalar, if you didn't get Barnes early on, if you didn't draw Barnes and Yasharaj. It's just a 7-mana, 4 damage, 2 durability weapon. A lot of players have been cutting it in some of their lists. So it's really bizarre, but just somehow it works. And over time, it seems like hunters just get that one card or that one little tool that helps them get closer to control. And I think there's some kind of undervalued cards, like Wandering Monster, for instance, which is a fantastic tool against some of the faster decks. So, and even just like Candle Shot in a couple secrets early game, and you can sometimes be good to go against some of the faster decks.
Candle Shot is really nutty.
It is.
If you think about it. Just like you think about how powerful the Rogue Dagger can be in the early stages of the game. You get that for half the cost of an extra charge. You take no damage when you swing at it. Really, really powerful ping, and that's something that Hunter struggled with a lot. But I mean, we're neither here nor there. Hunter won't be seen, alas, to the dismay of of myself at least. I think some people may be really happy because they lose hunters on stream. They're like, oh, I don't really want to see that. Focusing back on what's happening here, Insuke has the Control Cube Warlock hybrid, and he's going up against Murloc Paladin with 2 Spellbreakers. So this is very well equipped to fight out against Void Lords and just taunts in general. And Insuke has the Hellfire available, but it's not the clear that he's looking for.
And he would be forced to use the coin in order to make that
Right.
happen, which delays the skull, which is sort of that really big tool that you need. It could also delay Possessed Lackey plus Dark Pact, or even just Possessed Lackey by itself. So it's really hard to feel good about utilizing the coin early, even though it's killing off a wide board state. But Ender did just hero power pass on turn 4.
Right.
This deck is very low curve, so it's likely that he has some type of power turn.
Yes, it has to be a turn 4 swing, or he's holding like, you know, Sunkeeper Cherub and awkward cards. He would even equip a weapon sometimes if that was the case, like
exactly.
Champion's Maul would have happened.
And so he realized that, well, I need to Hellfire. If he had Gentle Megasaur as his turn 4 play, then I need to clear this off to prevent that swing. If he has Call to Arms, I'm still leaving a 1 health minion on board. So the Defile that I have in my hand is likely to clear off a board state in that case. So it sort of just stops both of those threats that he probably had a good read that Ender had.
Okay, has the Defile clear available to him, and it looks pretty good from this spot because you know there's a huge punish from your opponent with Megasaur and other problematic cards. The question that's in my mind is, do we life tap at all?
He's at 15 already. That's a hard thing to do.
You have 13 life gain through the Spellstone and the Dark Pact.
You do, yeah. I'd probably tap, just because I'd rather, with that Skull of Minari, have Void Lord.
Yeah.
Also, Possessed Lackey is very close to like almost a guaranteed, well, not a guaranteed win since Ender does run double Spellbreaker, but it would be such a huge swing. But he doesn't. He holds off on it, so floats 2 mana.
Yeah, I think that in the ideal world, he does actually have the tools he needs to win. Rin will draw out potentially the Spellbreaker, and then you can even use the Prince Tal'Daran to add extra layers of defense, or clear. You could use, 3/3 Doomguard charge and try to remove a minion.
Yeah.
And then you can have enough life to then start drawing cards, guaranteed, and then you can pull out the Void Lords, hopefully.
Yeah, it could also be the fact that, so next turn he wants to play Skull of Minari almost every time.
Yes.
And then whatever Ender develops this turn would be hitting him. So if he goes to 13, there's a chance that he just dies over the course of those turns because he would be taking like 2 full turns of damage. So he doesn't want to risk it. He wants to give himself more room to maneuver. And it would just be the mana utilization. He might have opportunity to tap later, but this is a pretty weak reload from Ender, I'd say.
It's still scary, but you are safe from a Sunkeeper Terran push. It would only be 11.
And even Gentle Megasaur would only have 1 Murloc to be able to buff, so if it got the +3 attack, which would be the most damage, you'd still be safe even from that. So,
however, it's not secure whether or not your following turn can lock Paladin out of the game because you don't have Void Lord in your hand. So Insuke is in a tough spot.
maybe he feels like he has to go for a different line here, like Spellstone plus Mortal Coil. But then he's in the same situation where his next turn is Skull, and he's taking the full brunt of the damage.
Yeah.
Like, this may be the only turn he would have to play the Skull.
Really indecisive whether or not he wants to remove or play more proactive, and I think proactive is the call here. Spear Slinger Umbra seems threatening because of the idea of Mistress of Mixtures and, you know, even wonky cube effects that can go with it if you play Mistress of Mixtures and the cube. That's when it starts getting insane.
+1/+1 seems like the only appealing option here. Now do you kill the Umbra?
Hard to say, but I think the punish is so severe, and my opponent's had awkward plays that he probably has some combo cards, which he does. He has like the Dark Packs, the Tal'Daran.
And now we're sort of back in the same situation. Okasinnsuke has to worry about this board, but also try and find a way to take control. Because right now he's just kind of stifling pressure. He's taking more damage off the board, but he's never furthering his own win condition. Ender will just keep putting out cards, and eventually, yes, you can run them out of resources. And okasinnsuke can maybe pin Ender on having at least one Spellbreaker. At this point, you say he has a Spellbreaker.
Yeah, or Divine Favor. Those are probably the two cards that you would keep this long.
Maybe, but there was so many turns where he could have drawn a lot of cards with Divine Favor and made a play that wasn't that strong. Like, would you play the Maul over Divine Favoring the previous turn to make 2 1/1s and a weapon as opposed to drawing 6 cards?
If he has a way to follow it up, so for example, he drew the Maul, he could have Sunkeeper Tarim.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Combo, but you're right. In most cases, it's probably a Spellbreaker, and in some other cases, it's Divine Spirit. I think. Whoa, how much damage is that? 5, 7, 8 plus 2 is 10?
10 damage.
Oh.
I mean, I think at this point you just put him to 2.
With a second Spellbreaker to back it up.
Yeah.
So you can just get through anything,
also
any single target.
Redemption active.
Assuming you have minions stick on the board. Unless your opponent sticks the 1/1 on the board.
Yeah, I think Redemption would summon the Murloc Tidecaller. So he would have lethal even if this was a full board clear, as long as okasinnsuke did not heal.
Yeah. The Possessed Lackey is actually really interesting because if it pulls out Voidlord, he can also still Dark Pack a second time and guarantee the targets if he anticipates a second Spellbreaker.
If he makes the read.
If he makes the read, this would be one of the best reads I've seen all year, TJ.
If he possess, he could also, I guess, Dark Pack the Rin, because he would go up to 18, and there'd be.
Yeah, it's true. And then he can soften up for the Hellfire.
And there'd be 17 damage on the board, though. It would still be close, even with double Dark Pack. But the only way that he would be able to survive this turn is if he double Dark Packs something. Actually, no, the Redemption makes... Yeah, so it's still the same math. Because there's 16 on board, the Hero Power would summon another one.
That's if the Voidlord gets pulled. 2 out of 3. Does get it. What's he getting, Dark Pack? The Rin plays the odds.
He's still alive by 1 unless Ender picks up additional points of damage. He can't push through with that. But he can put his opponent to 1.
Whew.
That'd be 5. That'd be 10, 16, 17. Yeah, I think I counted that.
But nowadays he
correctly.
has a clear, right? With the Hellfire Spellstone.
He'd have to Spellstone first.
But that's too bad. Doesn't get the full heal off of that.
Yeah.
It's so close. 1 damage. And at the same time, it's not like Insuke has a good option the following turn.
Yeah.
He would have to play pretty weak tempo or just go for the Doom Guard.
And now he's out of Dark Packs.
Now he's out of Dark Packs.
So that cube is kind of stranded because a lot of times you can't play cube and then wait a whole turn against an aggressive deck. But Ender's also out of resources.
You can draw a weapon, though. Rallying Blade ends the game. Ender's face shows a little more anxiety and worry. I think he was looking really confident before with double Spellbreaker. Second Doom Guard. So the Doom Guard guarantees a clear.
Yeah, I think he's got a Doom Guard and then hope that Tal'Daram is the minion that lives. He could also Tal'Daram first and just get a 3/3 that wouldn't have charge.
Would you? Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I'm like, would you life tap at all in this position because you recognize that 3 life is not that much different from 1 life?
The Maul is the card.
And Knife Juggler as well.
Oh, and Knife Juggler.
Yes, but it's just something you think about. He can't decide if he wants to.
I don't think there's much of a difference. You would keep a 3/1 on the board as opposed to guaranteeing.
Right.
You risk not having 2 minions at all to have an additional 3/1. But I think you just go for the Taldaram and Doomguard because you still clear the board.
Yes.
And then you're left with a 3/3 and
Yes. Also copies for the Blood Reaver Gul'dan to get an additional demon.
yeah,
Ooh, pitches the second Doomguard.
yeah.
Oh!
And Ender gives a little smile, kind of a sigh of relief as well. That was a close one.
And a glance over to Insuke, and he sees how crushed our Japanese player is. That one was a nail biter.
It was. Now Ender on match point. 1 win away from moving on to the winner's bracket. It's a big deal. When we're talking about double elimination, it's a lot different than that group play that we see a lot of times in HCT, where if you lose that first match, you don't have to play. You only have to play one additional match as opposed to everybody else. But if you lose in the first round, even of a 16-player tournament, you have to play 2 or 3 extra matches.
2 matches for every win that you didn't get.
Yeah.
So you have to play 6 matches to catch up.
Yeah. So getting a win in the first round is one of the most important wins outside of actually winning the grand finals, I suppose. So.
Oh, the drama is just starting to heat up. We'll be back right after this with more action here at HCT Sydney. Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Championship Tour live from Sydney, Australia. My name is Frodan, and join with me at the hearth, It's our wonderful Thomas James Sanders, who has returned the bread and cheese successfully. He got caught red-handed on camera, and we have apprehended the perpetrator.
I thought.
What do you have to say for yourself?
I thought
TJ?
that was their purpose. Was during breaks I could snack on them.
Please do not eat that. That is not edible in the slightest. But you know what it is
Edible.
edible? The
Are
tension.
these matches?
The tension in the air. It made sense in my head, but the term was palpable.
Dan has this face of like the professional caster face, where I know he's about to make this segue.
Yeah, the
This
transition.
smooth
and then
transition from one thing to another. And the most fun thing to do is to completely ruin it at all costs.
yeah. Kilmer's a good sport about it because he never, ruins it.
He just lets you do it.
He just chuckles.
He lets you get away with it. Nobody should have that smooth of transitions, Dan. Nobody.
No one should have that much power.
Not one man should have that much power.
All right, well, Ender has the elusive Mana Worm on turn 1, and Insuke is going to play Secret Mage as well, but he's going to be on the coin, so a slight advantage and disadvantage in different categories. Huge win, by the way, for Ender. Murloc pounding over the Cube Warlock. He didn't ban Cube Warlock, banned Spell Hunter, and his Gambit has paid off so far. And let's say he does drop the Secret Mage, then he would have to play the
Cube Warlock.
Cube Warlock with the Secret Mage.
Yep.
Which would give him an edge in theory.
In theory, yeah, and it is the Doomguard variant, which I think Secret Mage is a little more consistent against.
Yes, than just a pure control
Than
warlock.
just the pure control Warlock. So, because a lot of times they have more dead cards in their hand at any stage of the game.
Right.
So you have more opportunities to just sort of blow your opponent out.
Yeah, there's like less chances for your momentum turn 1, 2 to get stopped by Doomsayer. And, Void Lords are guaranteed, so Control Warlock's a lot better against the Secret Mage. But the hybridization of those two strategies, certainly interesting thing to think about. Oh, interesting. Counterspell. There was also this remote possibility that I was thinking about, the Spellstone to immediately buff the Mana Worm.
And it still gets you one random spell, so you wouldn't really lose out on the extra card. And who knows? Maybe that Ruby Spellstone was a counterspell. It would have been a full cost counterspell.
Is it a 1-mana secret that helps him get this Mediz ally out, though? I think that's the big deciding factor.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been discounted. Oh, wait. Yeah, it wouldn't have been discounted.
Right. It would be 3 mana, and that wouldn't allow him to get the tempo. And the tempo is so important.
Yeah, the only random generation that keeps the discount is the Shifting Scroll. If you take Shifting Scroll from Primordial Glyph, the random spell that Shifting Scroll turns into is discounted. But Ruby Spellstone does not work that way.
That's a really interesting fact.
Almost.
I really kind of wish you said fun fact before it with a number on it.
Fun fact number 2 of this cast. The first one was something about Cthulhu.
The Cycle Summoner for summons Cthulhu. It keeps the stats.
Yeah, but we weren't sure on the other parts of that fact.
Right. That's what makes it fun.
That's it. That is. That's, yeah.
There's a 50% chance that the fact
Well,
is
it's
wrong.
a fun fact, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a true Hearthstone fun fact.
It's a Frodan fact. So, sees that's not explosive runes, but he also knows that's a primordial glyph. So this counterspell on the explosive runes can be a huge factor. And look at this pickup from Ender getting the Cabal Lackey so we can get this explosive runes and remove the Kirin Tor Mage. This is very good for Ender so far because it was looking like outside of his Mana Worm start, Insuke would have had a much better board.
Yeah. I think Face is the place here, to be honest.
You like it?
Ender has a resource deficit, so every point of damage that he does is sort of more important when you're operating with less cards.
Right. But the punish is super severe if his opponent has a Frostbolt or other ways to clear that 2/3, and then he has to ping over 2 turns or just accept the fact that his Spellbreak gets traded into.
That's true, but there was no discounted secret. He saw the Kirin Tor Mage Blade, so it's less likely that he has a secret activator from Mediz Valet.
Right.
He was going into 4, and he had seen one Frostbolt already. So the likelihood that he has a way to deal that 3 damage is not very high. I don't know.
You're right, TJ. That was a fun fact.
Just spitballing here, Dan. Just spitballing.
Spellbender hasn't been very useful in this series so far, but Okassinsuke can time it to deny Fireland's Portal or other really powerful swing moments on the board.
Yeah. What targets can Spellbreaker even hit in this matchup? I don't think there's any.
Spellbreaker?
Yeah.
Or Spellbender.
Spellbreaker.
Spellbreaker can target the Mana Worm and
Mana
the
Worm.
Sorcerer's Apprentice.
That's it. And it may be something that comes off Fireland's Portal.
Yes. Test 1. If not Sorcerer's Apprentice, else Explosive Runes.
Wow. Okay.
That is a very good draw. I mean, granted, he would have guaranteed it anyways with the Archaeologist.
But this could be a better secret to play than Spellbender.
Yeah. That he had a way to guarantee his mana spread, but this was a great tempo swing on the board. And now we're kind of talking about how Ender was struggling after his turn 1. This is starting to look really bad. That is effectively a dead draw.
Yeah, this was the resource disadvantage that I was talking about, because if your board gets cleared, you're basically operating off the top of your deck, and you kind of need an LNS draw at some point to even have a chance. And in this matchup, you don't really have time once you run out of stuff to get LNF on board, because your opponent is also doing the same things that you're doing, just faster than you. And so eventually they're just going to muscle you out quickly. Ooh, Primordial Glyph could pick up something good. Is that Deck of Wonders again?
Or another Primordial Glyph to just...
Oh, come on.
reroll. What if he just offers some Deck of Wonders again? Oh, Great Arcane Missiles works! It's 5 mana in this position.
Yeah. I think it's the only option.
I like it. 50% chance to clear? Easy. Not even close. Although he's not out of the woods just yet. Okassinsuke has the Firelands Portal prepped and ready to go.
I don't know. I think...
You want a valet here?
Yeah, because if your opponent plays like... I guess Firelands Portal works. I was thinking if your opponent plays, say, a Cabal Crystal Runner or maybe their own Firelands Portal, your Firelands Portal would be able to contest that better. Maybe that's what Okassinsuke is thinking as well. But you'd also have your minion from Firelands Portal to contest that. And the mana utilization, I think, is a big deal. Especially if you both are running out of cards and you say you pick up Alaneth next turn. You can't do both, so...
Ender, by the way, knows that Okassinsuke most likely has a Spellbender up at this point because he does not run Ice Block, so there's not the 4 secret carousel of mysteries.
Excuse me, you are on.
And the Nesting Rock can add a lot of pressure. It's very sticky on the board. I don't know what Ender can really do in this spot here.
If only he had chosen Deck of Wonders.
That's true. And Deck of Wonders would have given him Doom. Clear the board.
Wow. The possibilities are endless.
And it's not... Does Deck of Wonders get stopped by a counterspell? Like, not playing Deck of Wonders itself. The scroll that comes out.
Is that a fun fact?
Yeah, fun fact number 3 of this cast.
We don't even know the answer. I don't know.
I'm just going to go with no, does not stop it.
Wow, thanks for the fun fact, Dan.
Yeah. Ender, think about any possible way he can find it out here. If he counterspells and Mediz Ali the face, he puts his opponent down to 14 and gets Power Blast, he'd be off by 1. He knows Okassinsuke doesn't have that Ice Block, but he's still so far. If he just had 1 extra ping, he had the out.
Yeah, and he doesn't have anything in his deck that's going to stop that, I don't believe.
But he doesn't die next turn. So what he actually hopes for
Ice Block.
is Ice Block into Pyroblast. There is a line.
There is one line. Ice Block into Pyroblast is the only thing.
Oh, wait. Oh, God. Forgot about that. Is he dead?
No.
No, he's close, though.
Yeah, so if he goes Ice Block into Pyroblast, then he will, I believe, just win.
Oh. You can see that Okassinsuke really trying to target a lot of those slower control decks with this lineup. Secret Mage has the Polymorph, Ice Block. His Control Warlock has Rin. No, that is not going to be it. Ender concedes, and we are once again going to a Game 5.
Yeah, Ender did see the one possible out that he could go for, and went for it, but it was very unlikely. He needed exactly the Ice Block and the Pyro Blast in exactly that order.
Well, he did have ways to draw into it, so you could have
Arcane Intellect.
he have Arcane Intellect, and assuming he didn't die, he could have just draw Aluneth to get all those cards and buy himself time to get to that point.
Yeah, I suppose. But very first case scenarios, he didn't have any Primordial Glyphs left. He had used the first one on turn 1, got the counterspell, and then used the second one to get the Greater Arcane Missile. So didn't have any type of random generation that he could have received. But yeah, it's all going to come down to Secret Mage for Ender versus the Control Warlock.
Yes. The Cube Warlock.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as time goes on, we're going to just say Cube Warlock is the control variant of Warlock.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can just call it, you know, the Cube Hybrid Warlock.
There was some Control Warlocks that didn't even run Cube.
Right.
And those are Control Warlocks, but like Cube is not so much the defining factor of the deck that you could blanket say Control Warlock, and then it's a Control Warlock that also runs Cube.
It's often about whether or not they're running Doom Guards or not.
Yeah, if you like, because Doomguard makes it so you always want to call it Cube Warlock because it is a bigger part of the deck. But there are some decks like who was it? Muzzy at the
Muzzy at the World Championship.
He ran cubes but no Doomguards, which was considered bizarre at the time, but then became more accepted once players started to have more success with it.
Yeah.
But
what a forerunner.
Yeah.
Just like being able to pull it out there. But of course, the biggest forerunner of that tournament was the people that brought the Big Spell Mage.
Yeah.
Which at the time people were like, wow, that's actually really good.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe if they hadn't met in the quarterfinals, I believe, Sinto and Frozen. Quarterfinals.
Yes.
If they hadn't met in the quarterfinals, who knows? Maybe it could have been all Big Mage finals if things had gone differently in that bracket stage.
Oh man, did I wish that was the finals? That would have been so sick.
Yeah, it was a game sort of worthy of the finals, but I was very pleased with how everything ended.
We're due for like a super dramatic Hearthstone series to end the World Championships. The first two were big blowouts.
Firebat is the 2015.
Sorry, that's an inside joke between me and CJ. That we use that admirable clip a lot. So
yes, we do. And every media piece in the World Championship, it's like in there once. But Hearthstone casting was much different in 2014. If you're curious and want to see the evolution of how Hearthstone casting came along, I recommend going back and watching. Because it was cast much more like a traditional esport back in the day, where we would make these big hype moments. It's pretty cool. We've come a long way since then.
Yeah, we understand how to, I think, properly assess more exciting situations.
Yeah, now we just talk about bread.
Back then, we were shoutcasters. Today, we're men. Fun fact number 4. okasinnsuke saving the Mistress of Mixtures, seeing that the secret was played, recognizing that it could be the explosive runes or the counterspell. He has good counters to both with the coin and the Mistress. But is he playing too greedy, perhaps? Mistress of Mixtures would have died immediately, but also offset the secret. Kind of hard to say.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
You want to get that mana out of the way, so to speak. The idea is that even though you are clogging your opponent's hand if they drew a second secret, you're also you're not being mana efficient, you're clogging your own place for the future.
And the thing about playing against Secret Mage as this deck, if you make one mistake, like if you float one extra mana or take one extra damage, sometimes that's the difference.
Right.
Sometimes that just loses you the game on the spot. So you have to be very careful and navigate the matchup near perfection in most cases. Sometimes they either just beat you or you just beat them because you got all your stuff early and they didn't get any sort of temple tools.
Well, here's the thing. okasinnsuke knows that he has the Skullmanari Voidlord combo, so he's doing the thing where we were showing, that Surrender kind of put on display for everybody to see. Don't tap if you don't need to against these aggressive decks that try to burn you down.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that counterspell is going to block the coin for an extra turn, which squeezes out even more damage. And then okasinnsuke has that Cobalt Librarian, which kind of goes with the hand in hand with do I life tap or not? Because this is essentially life tapping for a 2-1.
Let's see. It also buffs the that spellstone, so he can get that heal out maybe a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Or for bigger. Not earlier, just for bigger. But pressure's starting to pile on, and Ender does have some finishing damage with Power Blast in hand, so piece together a little bit more minions, maybe a little bit more burn cards.
Yeah, it just needs to hit one more time with all these minion waves, and he'll forever be in threat. And this is painful, but also okasinnsuke deals with the Cabal Crystal Runner very effectively. No secret for Ender. Although, truth be told, Secret wouldn't do anything against the skull anyways.
Yeah, it actually
Doesn't even matter.
could be a risk against Possessed Lackey, potentially. Because if you had Explosive Runes, Possessed Lackey
Right.
gets that free sort of proc, but he just... I actually would have kind of liked to see Sorcerer's Apprentice there. Because what if he does play Possessed Lackey or Skull of the Minari, you'll never get another chance.
9 damage plus 7 on the board. 17 damage.
Okasinnsuke has no way to heal.
Gonna keep pinging. I think Ender's gonna he's been rewarded for pinging every single turn and really saving this, but Sorcerer's Apprentice not getting that damage.
If he had played
If
Sorcerer's
he had played
Apprentice last
Sorcerer's
turn,
Apprentice.
because listen to my reasoning. He can assume that there's a Void Lord's gonna come out with Skull or Possessed Lackey, so Sorcerer's Apprentice is never gonna attack for more.
Gonna pull a Doomguard out.
Guaranteed, yeah, since the second Void Lord's in hand. And Ender still needs 4 more turns in order to get to Pyroblast? Okay. He still needs at least 2 more.
Right. But he knows that there's no cube, because the cube would have come down guaranteed. Not that it really helps very much, but the cube would mean that he gets no minion damaging guaranteed. I mean, it's still pretty much not guaranteed that you'll get any damage. Or, sorry, rather, that it is pretty much ensured that Ender can't get any more minion damage in the game.
So now I feel like it's in a weird spot. Do you keep throwing Burn at face, or do you maybe kill the Doomguard to try and give yourself enough time
right,
to
Pyroblast
get there?
in the face.
Yeah. Because if you throw the Frostbolt at the Doomguard, that's 3 less damage that you have, which maybe you need to come out if he draws Dark Pact again, or the second Spellstone, or Mistress of Mixtures.
Yep.
I'm curious to see where that Frostbolt is going, or actually just holds on to it. Maybe he wanted to see...
He's trying to maybe surprise his opponent with the burn in hand. Doesn't want him to calculate. Trying to mess up his computation.
Yeah, that's possible. Because he could just ping face next turn. And then Firelance Portal Frostbolt. Oh no, because he'd still be 1 off. I was thinking he would ping next turn and then have 9, but Firelance Portal plus Frostbolt is only 8. If Sorcerer's Apprentice sticks, that's a whole different story.
No, you can Firelance Portal into a spell damage minion and then Frostbolt for the lethal. Whoa. Is there a 5 mana spell damage minion that Azure Drake's not? Now that Azure Drake's gone for a while. I might be wrong on that. I don't think there's a spell damage minion.
Fun fact number 5.
You guys are learning a lot. I am an educational caster.
But now let's count the damage for okasinnsuke here. He's gonna put him to 22.
Oh wow!
And have 14 on board.
And if he doesn't kill off the Sorcerer Apprentice, Ender can squeeze it in both those plays next turn as well.
He doesn't set up for a 2-turn lethal, and he has plenty of damage for a 3-turn lethal, I think. So I think you always kill it. Whoa.
Mana Worm. The board tension, TJ.
Oh, man.
Firelance Portal. What's behind the door?
Where shall I strike?
Through the claw. Ender sets up a lethal opportunity.
And not killing off that Sorcerer's Apprentice allowed Ender to fit in the ping.
Yes.
I guess it wouldn't matter because he could Frostbolt ping this turn and then Firelance Portal ping.
Right.
But I suppose this presents another minion. In the end, it doesn't matter too much because Ender would have had it anyway.
Oh.
And
yeah, sorry.
it's a Doomsayer, damn.
No, it's just like he has no draw for health. He needs a life tap.
Oh. A
My job is to add commentary, and that's the best you're gonna get. Orc grunts.
So many possibilities.
But yeah, no, okasinnsuke, he's the life tap to survive. Now, of course, he might just pass his turn, essentially, like attack face,
Yeah.
see what he can do.
But
you know,
there's no difference between 2 and 4 here, right? Only if you expect ping over 2 turns to be able to kill you.
yes, you
If you
accelerate the
expect him
clock.
to have
2
no
turns.
burn, but if he does have any burn spell outside of Pyroblast, he kills you anyway from 4 or 2.
Right. Well, the idea is to set up lethal, which is getting Dark Pack and developing the Cabal Lackey on the board. That's the way to win the game. He knows his opponent has Pyroblast, but he's just going to pass, and Ender is going to squeeze out a victory by the hair of his chinny chin chin.
That's right. All the way game number 5, too. That's a lot of game 5s that we've seen today. I think
Wow.
that's the 4th out of 5 total matches. So definitely some exciting series.
And he did it without Warlock in his lineup and with a Cthulhu Druid
That's
instead.
right, Dan.
The man of the people. This guy is one to watch out for. And hey, guess what? Another player from ANZ ends up winning.
Yeah.
Sending yet another traditional Asian country representative home.
That's right. So moving on to the winners bracket, still a long way to go. You know, there's a lot of tournament games left to play. We still have almost 2 full days of competition, at least 1.5.
Yeah, apologies there. That actually was a winner's bracket match. It's not sending him home. It's sending him to a lower bracket.
Yeah, sending him to a lower bracket.
But if he loses there,